But grief could be anything. Grief can be like losing your job. Like I lost my job last year. So, grief can be part of losing your job. It could be also in a divorce. You could, have grief even if you're not talking to your kids. Kids sometimes get a bit narky, especially teenagers that don't want to talk to you. And sometimes that does actually onset grief. And especially if it continues. Grief could be, it covers a wide range of subjects. It's not just death, and which a lot of people, associate that with.
You're here with Kate Mainey, and her website is KATEYJOY.com. That is katiejoy.com. Katie is a life coach. She has a passion to help people just like you live your best life, to always show a smile, and to search for the diamonds in depression. So, Katie, glad to be talking to you.
How you going?
Super great, and excited to hear about you and what you do and these unique solutions that you provide. So you're a life coach, is that correct?
Yes, yep. I'm just part of being alive too. I think you just, it's a natural thing that you become a coach and you talk to everybody, and then all of a sudden it's like, maybe I should do a business like this.
Yeah, if it helps people and you have fun doing it and you can sustain it and it seems like there's a future there, then why not make that your living instead of a hobby? And so you're in our Speak Up, Step Up, Stand Out compilation book, and you have a very good chapter there. So can you tell us about what the heck life coaching is and why it's a good solution compared to going it your own, or compared to going to see like a doctor or a therapist? Why life coaching?
I think it's just part of, everyone has to deal with things in their life. For me, a lot of it's been not an easy walk with grief and stuff like that. So that's pretty much what I sort of, aim at. Um, I think part of, just being who we are, and it's easy to talk to someone, instead of, a lot of people get very hesitant in actually going to a psychologist or a psychiatrist or something like that. And a lot of people sort of go, well, especially guys tend to not like to go to get help from anybody else, and they're happy to talk to a woman. Most guys talk to a woman. And I think, and the girls are just natural talkers. They just talk, amongst themselves. So they find things a little bit easier. And so I just thought, like, with dealing with life, sometimes it's just good to have that chat. That's pretty much what it is. I think, to sum it down into anything, it's just like having sitting at the bar having a beer.
Well, yeah, and something that took me maybe way too many years for it to click is this idea that I think that I can have these whole conversations in my head, right? And I think that I can just live my old world in my brain, and then all of my problems will be fixed. But then at some point, I told myself, I think about all the times when I went in and had a conversation or met with a friend, and I'd always imagine this would happen, and then real life would never match up. So I have to tell myself that if I want to break these patterns and get out of the loop and the cycle, that I have to remember that what happens in my brain is probably not accurate and it will never happen. So it's
No.
important to get out of your head and to have that conversation. And then you mentioned a couple other things here. You said that you've been through some things on your own, so you can relate. And then you also put this label on it, like the grief label in particular. And I think that that's been kind of helpful for me, in that sometimes I think, oh, I've got this situation, I've got this and this to worry about. But when I put a term or a label on it, I say, okay, now this is in like previously explored territory, right? Now there's a label. I can communicate it in this way. And there's these like tools and techniques that already exist to deal with this category of my problem.
Yeah. And I mean, grief to me, like it can be anything. Like for me personally, I've lost two partners, so two husbands, and so that's been a big grief. And then I lost my dad and my grandparents, and so there's a lot of grief associated with death in my walk. But grief could be anything. Grief can be like losing your job. Like I lost my job last year, so grief can be part of losing your job. It could be also in a divorce. You could, have grief even if you're not talking to your kids. Kids sometimes get a bit narky, especially teenagers that don't want to talk to you. And sometimes that does actually onset grief, and especially if it continues. Grief could be, it covers a wide range of subjects. It's not just death, and which a lot of people, associate that with. So it's just, it's learning to not have those little conversations in your head, because if you do have like we all go, okay, I'm going to say this, and this is how the whole conversation is going to end up, and it never does. We had the whole conversation, and he said, and then I'm going to say, and then he's going to say, and then I'm going to say, and then she's going to say. So we have it all planned ahead, and it never happens that way. And then that can sometimes upset us even more, and trying to deal with things that way. So yeah,
And
it
and
is really good to talk.
and then it hurts your brain to then like look at yourself and say, okay, here's what I see myself doing. And you're just like, okay, I really need to talk to someone because now I'm like in multiple layers of myself. And so yeah, that's really helpful that when you hear this term grief in particular, you assume that it means death, but it doesn't always mean death. It can
No.
mean all these different flavors. And so what kind of do you have any more insights such as these that you wish your patients or your clients knew before coming to you? Is there anything that comes to mind there?
I don't think before they come to me, I don't think, how do I explain it? It's not, sometimes we just need to go, bleh. And I think that's the best thing that I found in my life is just to have that person just to ring up and say, okay, I need to chat. I'm not coping. And it's just the initial start of saying, "Hi, how are you? My name's Kate," and then just going from there. Like we do, I'm a natural talker. I just talk all the time. I talk underwater. My dad used to say, but and always to lower the decibels because I am quite loud. But it's just it's making that initial conversation and just going from there. Sometimes people, it's like in any relationship, if you connect with someone, you connect with them. And I believe for myself, I have a really good connection with people. So once people start talking to me, it's quite easy, and I'll just let them basically, if you would say, rave, um, and just maybe offer some life experiences that I've had to deal with and things that I've had to walk through. So I don't think there's any pre criteria to actually come to me to see me. You know what I mean? I deal with a range of things. And it's not just like parenting. I've been in childcare for 35 years. I have four of my own children and seven stepchildren. So I have a lot of parenting advice as well. So that, the grief side of dealing with that even as well. And I have lost one of my stepchildren to cancer as well as my partner. So I know that feeling of loss as well in the children's side as well, and dealing with things with issues with children. If we have grief, that why is this happening to my child, and walking through their journey as well. It's there's no pre-criteria, I don't think, It's just if you have a need, there's a life coach to talk to. It's because it's life. It's part of life. It's not just grief, it's not just kids, it's not just relationships, it's not just anything, I've been in a dating scene as well. That can sometimes cause a lot of grief as well. So it's there's a lot of things that life entails is what, you can talk about.
And I imagine it may be scary, or some people may hesitate, or maybe they might like take a while to actually open up and get to the root cause of what it is they're talking about. And so, what's the format? Like you said, sometimes it helps to just make the phone call to you and just dump all the stress, all the grief, all the problems. But is it like, do you say, well, we're going to like meet on the phone like this time every week, or is there a program, or just what's the structure about what you provide?
Well, I have a bucket book program. So it's instead of like we all have bucket lists, and we have goals at the end of what we want to achieve of our life. And people, have their bucket list. I'm going to go to France, or I'm going to do this. I'm going to lose so much weight. So everyone has something on their bucket list. But I don't think a bucket list is that's like the final thing. I think you need to have more of a book because every day there should be something on our goal list, which is our bucket list to accomplish. So it's more, it's not just a list. I think if you compilate everything together, it's actually a book. So it's called the Bucket Book Program. It's just a step-by-step program to walk through. There's 8 different modules to go through, and buckets of happiness, buckets of life, buckets of gratitude. There's lots of buckets that we need to deal with. And it's basically, emptying the bucket and seeing what we can find in each of our own lives to empty the bucket or fill our bucket, whichever way we want to go and deal with things. So,
And that's cool to think about because yeah, you're right that when you think about like a bucket list, you think of like 10 items on the
Mhm.
paper and
Yeah,
they're like things I want to do like the 30 seconds before I die or like my last
yeah,
year of my life. And but it's like, well,
yeah,
doesn't that accumulate even more than that? Or aren't
yeah,
those kind of fit in different categories? And
yeah.
so do any of the items on this bucket book jump out at you? Or are there any of these items that people put in there that you feel like talking about?
Um, in as in personal health, do you mean? Like with like that what you what I'm don't quite understand what you meant then.
Oh, yeah, like, I mean, your clients, they enter this in, right?
Yep.
They'll put in these different pages of the gratitude list and, like, the achievement list and things like that. They'll put these items in the bucket book. So I'm just kind of curious about, like, is there one random one that comes to mind in general that you feel like just telling us about to give us an idea of what's in this bucket book for some people?
Well, everyone's different, of course, because that's all part of life. So, if some person's got, they might have a relationship issue, and so their goal at the end is to have a beautiful relationship. So it's just the little step by step things that you can do, like how you can be grateful. What bucket you can use to be grateful for that person for the day. What bucket you can use to show gratitude to them, and what bucket, and all of that. It's all about sometimes changing ourselves. It's changing ourselves and our mindsets to actually accomplish our goals at the end. So, for instance, at one time my husband used to come home dirty, and sometimes he'd fall asleep on the lounge. So it'll be like I need to change my thinking to be, instead of being cranky at him every 5 minutes, to say, "You come home dirty and you fell asleep on the lounge again," because he was worked hard. So I'll give you that. But instead of changing him and yelling at him about trying to get him to do that, I thought, okay, I'll just change my tactic, if you would call it. Instead, when he came home, I'd say, it'd be have the bath run for him, all the candles would be out, and he'd come home, and I'd just, oh, welcome home, give him a kiss, and take his clothes off, and put him in the bath. And so I was fixing myself, but I was showing him love. So he saw the love of my problem. I had to change the way that I was going to deal with that problem. So it's sometimes as looking at problems, and things that are happening in our lives from the outside, and what we can do as people to try and change our own selves and change our mindsets to be able to help the other people. And in fact, we're helping ourselves as well. But that was just like in a relationship sort of, way. So
And I like that a lot, and it demonstrates like 5 different things at once, right?
yeah,
That I mean, there are all these problems that need to be dealt with,
yeah,
but there might be some kind of like creative outside the box solutions. If not
yeah.
either just keep it to myself and grumble about it or blow up and confront the person. And there might be a way to attack the problem in some kind of way that where like your initial frustration and anger doesn't really matter, but then it also helps the person and you're
Yeah,
also doing a good thing and you're
yeah,
also kind of like just moving on from it. So that's pretty cool to think about. And so
yeah,
all this makes me think of, okay, every now and then on like Facebook or social media, you'll see these threads where someone says something like, can everyone post a comment about what helped them the most in therapy? And there'll be these lists of like, 400 comments and everyone has all these unique pieces of advice. And I usually get like 3 of them down and I'm like, my brain's already full. There's just like so many good advice. I've never gotten very far down these lists of like all these ahas people had
yeah.
in therapy. So do any of those come to mind for you? Is there any like big aha that you just come across in all your many years?
I think there was one quote that I read a while ago was Abraham Lincoln's, and the best way to predict the future is to create it. So it's like, sometimes we have to create our future. It's not going to just happen, and just, it's life is just way too short for rewinds and replays. We need to, go, okay, this is what I want. This is, what I need to do. And part of one of my on my webinar is actually live while you're alive and don't die until you're dead. So it's stepping out and doing things what we need to do. Every day is a blessing. We wake up every morning and it's like, yes, this is my day. I'm fine. Let's go. Let's be on it. It's and every day. I mean, we have moments every day. but it's just like this is it. Today's today, and I'm going to make the most of today and accomplish one goal for the day. Even if it's sometimes your one goal might be getting up and having breakfast. One goal might be I'm going to go for a 30-minute walk or take the dog for a walk, or so there's everyone has different goals and different parts of their life that they want to improve, or they want to and a lot of people talk about when you say a life coach is helping themselves, and sometimes by helping ourselves, we need to help others. And I think the whole sowing and reaping thing works for me. Like if I sow into other people's lives, it always comes back to me. It's like anything. If you help someone do something, you feel good for yourself because you've actually helped them to accomplish their goal, or you've guided them in some way. So it's easier to get your head back into the game plan when you're trying to help someone else.
I like that a lot. That's reassuring that uh, if you can help others, then it helps yourself and gives you a good feeling, gives you that momentum, the reassurance that it doesn't all have to be figured out today. Just
Yeah.
start, make some progress, even if it's a small step towards where you want to go. Get that habit figured out. And so you mentioned about you have your webinars and your programs and other things like that. So can you tell us about your website and your services and anything you feel like mentioning about your various offers that really excite you and excite us?
Yeah. So I have a free webinar it's all in the making at the moment. Webinar that's going to start, which is called "Live While You're Alive, Don't Die Until You're Dead." And then in the website is all under construction as well. That's Katie Joy, KATEYJOY.com. So yeah, so all this is all coming into fruition, and it's really good that the webinar's free, and then I have the bucket book program that comes from that. And we just talked about the different buckets and how we can outlay our life, and that sort of comes out from the webinar. So yeah, that's pretty much who I am. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. Kicking Goals with Katie Joy is my Instagram one. So it's just Kicking Goals with Katie Joy, and Facebook. So yeah, so everything's all starting to come into fruition. I'm still a baby in the process. But yeah, I thought it's about time that I needed to, give what I have. I've been giving what I have anyway, and I'm happy to give what I have for the rest of my life. But I just thought, okay, I need to find a little bit of a niche and go in and try and help people, and yeah, see how we go.
Exciting. And that website is KATEY joy.com. And we
Yeah.
can go there right now. So that way, if this whole life coaching and self development idea has been eating at you and you say, I know that I can accomplish more. And I also need to get over some of my hangups like beating myself up or self sabotage or just being in these patterns, including the pattern maybe of not speaking to someone else when that's
Mm.
important. So katiejoy.com is the place to go. And if someone says, I really want to dive into this life coaching thing, what are the prerequisites? Can it be done from anywhere in the world? Does it have to be local or remotely? How does someone take the next step as far as this life coaching with you?
Anywhere in the world, we just organize a time like we've done today, organize a time, and we go from there. So of course you've got the time frames, which is quite early in the morning here for me, which is probably a little bit later for you. But yeah, it's because everything's online and digital now, we can just go do a Zoom meeting and have an hour session, and yeah, whichever way if we want to do it weekly, you want to do it monthly, we can organize something.
And I imagine that is there a way to get the communication started in like email or initial chat to figure these things out?
Yeah, you can go to my emails, it's info@katiejoy.com. Send me an email and we can settle that up from there. So
Fantastic. Very convenient. Info at katiejoy.com. Website we mentioned is katiejoy.com. So as we wrap up our conversation here, Katie, do you have any final parting words of advice? Anything to kind of wrap up our whole conversation or send us on our way, making us feel really good and inspired and motivated?
Um, I've always been known for my smile. So everyone sort of says, why do you always smile?" But I think a smile is everything. If you see someone smiling, you automatically smile. It's like the most contagious thing ever. And I think no matter what you're going through in life, if you've got a smile on your face, smiling is just, yeah, so contagious. And I have a little bit of a saying that a smile is the curve that sets everything straight. So it's, it's keep the smile on your dial.
I love it. Well, remember to smile, especially as you go to ktjoy.com, and we will see you there. And thanks for showing up, Katie.
Thank you.